In this video, I'll show you how I created these fun shaker elements using die cuts. I will be using products from the Hero Arts May 2023 release, but I encourage you to use whatever you have in your stash. Hi, this is Anna from Crafty Anna Studio. Welcome to my YouTube channel where I post card making and paper crafting tutorials. Let's start with creating background for the first card. I have here a 5.5 by 4.25 piece of white cardstock. I'll be using this beautiful color layering cloud stencil as the background for the kite. I place the first stencil down on the panel and secure it in the back with washi tape. This stencil is quite easy to align with an A2 size card panel. I place the washi tape at the top and bottom as well as the two sides. This helps to keep the stencil in place while ink blending. I will use Hero Arts reactive inks in lemon yellow, creamsicle, berry smoothie, grape slush, and blue Hawaii. I'll start with the lightest color, lemon yellow. I have here two blending brushes, one for the warm color and one for the cool colors. I have here a small silicone mat to keep my ink pads in place. I also have a microfiber cloth off to the side to clean my brushes in between colors. I start with loading up the blending brush with the lemon yellow ink. Then I tap gently off to the side of the stencil before taking it to the paper. I start blending from the side of the stencil moving towards the middle. I use small circular motions with the brush, which helps in distributing the inks evenly on the surface. This is actually the first layer of ink, so I will just keep a light hand. Then after blending, I will clean the bristles on a microfiber cloth before the next color. Next, I take the creamsicle ink, load up my brush once again, tap off the excess to the side before taking it to the paper. I use circular motions to make sure the transition from one color to the other is as smooth as possible. After cleaning my brush once again, I will ink blend the next color, berry smoothie. When ink blending with dye ink, it's not necessary to have one brush for every color of ink. You can use the same brush as long as you start with the lightest color first and you clean the brush in between blending. After berry smoothie, I switch brushes and start blending in grape slush, then finish it off with blue Hawaii at the top. The blend may look a little splotchy at first, but that's okay, as this is just the first layer of ink. Then I remove the stencil and move on to the next layer. Stencil number 2 is actually two stencils in one, so I will lay down the topmost stencil, lining up the clouds at the top. Then I will use post-it tape to mask the lower part of the stencil before ink blending. I start to ink blend first with berry smoothie, then grape slush, and finally blue Hawaii, cleaning my brushes in between colors. This time, I will go with a bit of a heavier hand as I ink blend. I took inspiration for this background from the colors of the sky as the sun sets and the night starts to come in the horizon. After I finish ink blending the second layer, I will move the lower half of the stencil to the upper part of the panel and line up the clouds once again. Then I tape it down at the back with washi tape. Then I ink blend using the same three colors. Then after the third layer, I will go through and ink blend once again, this time without the stencil, following the same gradient of color. Then I will set this aside and work on the background for the Gumball machine card. First, I will start with lemon yellow and I will ink blend in the middle of the card panel. I wanted the lightest color to be in the middle so it would highlight the Gumball machine better. Then I move on to the creamsicle and blend around the yellow. This time the circular motion is much wider. I tap off the ink to one side first before taking it to the paper. Sometimes I forget, thus this splotch over here, but that's okay as it's just the first layer. After ink blending creamsicle, I go back again with the yellow to get a darker blend. Then I switch brushes again and work in the blend of berry smoothie. And after that, grape slush in the four corners of the panel. The stencil I will use for this card is the Starlight Race stencil. This stencil has a bit of a retro vibe. I start by ink blending the middle with lemon yellow, then make my way outward with the rest of the colors, laying down more ink as I go along. If you are liking the video so far or are learning something new, please hit the like button, send me a comment, and subscribe to my channel. I truly appreciate it. Thanks! Then I remove the stencil to reveal the pattern. I did add blue Hawaii ink later on at the very corners. Here are the two finished ink blended panels. For this one, I sprayed it with shimmer spray and added a sentiment You Sparkle from the You Sparkle stamp set. I stamped it with black pigment ink, heat embossed it with sparkling sea embossing powder. I did the same with this one. The sentiment, Have a Sweet Birthday, is from the Color Layering Cupcake stamp set. Off camera, I did die cut all the elements I needed for the cards. For the first card, I used the Kite Fancy die. I die cut and colored in the main body of the kite, then die cut the bones of the kite from holographic cardstock, which I will also use as the mat for the card panel. I also die cut and colored in the tail, and the ribbons are also holographic. I also have a piece of acetate which I will use to create the shaker. For this one, I used the Gumball machine fancy die to cut out all the elements. I die cut them out of holographic cardstock for the glass bowl of the machine. For the body, I used aqua glitter cardstock, both of which came from this month's kit. I did some paper piecing to create this super sparkly Gumball machine. I also cut out a piece of acetate to make the shaker element. To turn the kite into a shaker, I cut a rectangular piece of acetate bigger than the kite. I take my crafty tail scissors and cut out about a half an inch around the kite. I hold it very firmly in place with my finger as I cut to prevent it from moving. Then I use the tip of the scissors to miter all the corners. starting at the bottom of the kite. I cut it at an angle on all sides. Next, I will fold in the acetate on all sides using my fingers. I use the scissors to cut off any piece that I feel may interfere with the other folds in the acetate. Then I remove the die-cut kite and use my fingernails to reinforce the folds. You can use a bone folder for this. Next, I place the die-cut kite back into the acetate form. I will use liquid glue to glue down the folds. It would be much better, I feel, if I used double-sided tape for this, but I didn't think of it at this time. I will use it though for the Gumball machine later on. I use a paperweight to weigh down the folds as the glue sets. In the meantime, I will mix the sequins I will need for my shaker. I will mix pink, purple, and blue to match the colors of my card. Now that the glue is set, I will open the top part of the acetate and using a small spoon, scoop in the sequins, but not too much as there should be enough room for the sequins to move around. Next, I will glue the top openings shut and use a paperweight to weigh them down as it sets. Then I added a generous amount of liquid glue at the back of the kite and adhered it on top of the card at an angle. Off camera, I already glued the ink blended panel to a card base with a holographic matting. Then I will add a tail, which I had colored in with alcohol markers. Next, I will add the ribbons using a pickup tool. First at the top of the tail, then bottom, then two more spaced evenly in between. Then I snip off the excess tail hanging off the edge. And that's it for my first card. Now for the second card. For the glass globe of the Gumball machine, yes, this part is called a globe. I had no idea. Before cutting the acetate like I did for the kite, I take a stylus and with it, I traced and scored around the globe. Make sure you use a surface like a stamping mat or a silicone mat to make the scoring easier. Here, hopefully you can see the scored lines. Next, I cut around the scored lines, leaving about ½ an inch allowance on all sides. Then just like I did with the kite, I mitered the corners, cutting at an angle with the sharp end of craft scissors. After mitering all the corners, I will snip tabs around the curved edge of the globe, right up to the scored line. Starting at the middle part, then evenly cut on both sides to create smaller tabs. Then I'll do the same on the other side. Off camera, I folded in the tabs and added double-sided tape to the back of the die-cut globe. After I remove the release paper of the tape, I will then insert the globe piece inside and start folding in the tabs. I do that on one side first and at the bottom, leaving the other side and the top open so I can put in the sequins. Once again, with a small spoon, I scoop the sequins in, filling it just enough for them to move around. Then I fold in the rest of the tabs to seal the sequins in. It's time to assemble the card. First, I take liquid glue and add it to the back of the holographic cardstock panel. Then, after adhering it to the front of a side-folding card panel, I add liquid glue to the back of the ink-blended panel and add it on top. Next, I will adhere all the elements of the gumball machine, starting with the base, then the globe, and then the top. And that's it for the card. If you enjoy creating shaker cards, I have another video linked above that you can check out. If you're interested in any of the Hero Arts products I used in this video, I have it linked in the video description below. And I also have a full list of supplies on my blog post, which is also linked below. Thank you so much for watching. Till next time, bye!